My mom used a stolen key to let my brother's wife into my house. Now my family thinks they can sell it without me knowing. Until I fight back. My name is Clara, and 6 months ago, I did something my family would never expect. I purchased a house. Not just any home. A stunning 3-bedroom craftsman in the center of Riverside Heights, replete with a wraparound porch, original hardwood flooring, and a magazine-worthy kitchen. I've been dreaming about this place since I was 12 years old, when I drew floor layouts in my notebooks during math class. But, here's the deal. I did not tell anyone. Not my parents, my brother Ethan, or even my best friend Nora. The house was my secret, my retreat, and my opportunity to finally have something truly mine. Growing up as the middle child in the Hartford family, I was accustomed to being forgotten. My older brother, Ethan, was the golden boy, a high school star quarterback with a business degree from Northwestern, married to his college sweetheart Lila, and now runs Dad's construction company. Then there was my younger sister Megan, the artsy one who is currently doing her MFA in Chicago on my parents' cash. And I was just Clara, the practical one who worked 2 jobs during community college, saved every penny, and never asked for anything. While Ethan received a down payment gift for his first home and Megan received tuition money, I received lectures on how to be more financially responsible. So, when I finally got enough money for a down payment after 5 years of working as a dental hygienist and running a small photography company on weekends, I decided to demonstrate my responsibility. I discovered the right house, got pre-approved for a mortgage, and made an offer without telling anyone. Mrs. Whitmore, the seller, was going to Florida to be closer to her grandkids. She was delighted that a young woman was buying her family house, where she had raised her own children. During the walkthrough, she told me memories about backyard birthday parties, Christmas mornings by the fireplace, and how the kitchen window provided an excellent view of neighborhood children walking to school. "This house needs a family again," she added as she pressed the keys into my palm on the final day. "It's been waiting for the right person." I spent 3 months quietly furnishing it, piece by piece. I drove there after work, sometimes just to sit on the porch swing and watch the sun turn the sky orange and pink. I put tulip bulbs in the front flower bed and strung lights in the rear. I even got a rescue cat, a ginger tabby named Pumpkin, who seemed to grasp how important our little secret was. The plan was straightforward. I'd live there quietly for a few months, settle in, and then surprise my family with the big revelation during Christmas dinner. I'd gently mention my new location and watch their reactions as they learned their irresponsible daughter had purchased a home on her own. But life has a strange way of derailing even the best laid intentions. On a Tuesday morning in late October, everything began to disintegrate. I was at work cleaning Mrs. Dorsey's teeth and listening to her gripe about her son-in-law's eating habits when my phone alerted me to a notification from my security camera app. Yes, I had installed security cameras. Sue me. I am a single lady living alone, and after watching too many true crime films, I was not taking any chances. The cameras were discreetly placed to monitor the front door, back door, and driveway. I rarely checked them during work hours, but something compelled me to glance at my phone in between patients. My blood turned into cold water. My mother shone out like a beacon on my front porch. And she wasn't alone. She was accompanied by Lila, Ethan's wife, and someone I didn't recognize, a blonde woman dressed in an expensive-looking coat. Mom was fumbling with something in her purse. Then she took out a key to my home. I stared in horror as my mother opened my front door and motioned for the other women to join her inside. The timestamp indicated that they had been there for 7 minutes already. "Mrs. Dorsey, I'm so sorry but I have a family emergency," I murmured, my voice still firm despite the earthquake in my chest. "We'll need to reschedule your cleaning." I drove home like a woman possessed, my head racing with thoughts. How did Mom acquire the key? How did she even learn about the house? And what the hell was she doing giving tours to Ethan's wife and a complete stranger? The women had left by the time I arrived at Maple Ridge Drive, but evidence of their stay could be found everywhere. The front door was slightly ajar. Mom had always been sloppy with locking up. Inside I could see the indications of their intrusion. Moved furniture, opened cabinets, and even the refrigerator door was slightly open, but it was the note on my kitchen counter that pushed me over the brink. Written in Mom's recognizable handwriting, "Clara honey, I know you're upset, but this is for the best. Lila and Caroline, my realtor friend, think this property has real potential. We'll discuss tonight. Love, Mom. P.S. Cute." I sat down hard on my couch. The couch I'd saved for 3 months to buy. The couch I'd carefully picked to fit precisely in this space, and tried to understand what was going on. My mother had somehow found my house, obtained a key, and was now showing it to prospective purchasers without my knowledge or approval. The betrayal struck me like a physical blow. This wasn't only about the house. It was about everything. Every time I was overlooked, my accomplishments were downplayed, and I was treated like an afterthought child who couldn't possibly know what was best for her. I dialed Mom immediately. "Oh good, you got my note?" she inquired, as if breaking into someone's home were simply another Tuesday pastime. "Listen, sweetie, I know you're probably confused." "Confused?" I asked. "Mom, how did you get a key to my house?" "Well, Mrs. Whitmore's daughter is in my book club, and when she mentioned selling to a young Hartford girl, I put two and two together. I've been worried sick about you living in that neighborhood all alone. It's not safe for a single woman, and honestly, the mortgage must be stretching your budget thin." The neighborhood was not hazardous. It was actually one of the most pleasant locations in town. But it wasn't the point. "So, you got a spare key and decided to show my house to strangers?" Lila mentioned that she and Ethan might be interested in a rental property as an investment, and Caroline is the best realtor in the county. I assumed I had hung up. That evening my phone rang non-stop. First Mom, then Ethan, and finally Dad joined in with his normal, "Let's all just calm down and talk about this reasonably" attitude. I disregarded them all and spent the evening looking into locksmiths. But avoidance is only effective for so long. The next day, Ethan arrived at my workplace. "Bryn, we need to talk," he continued, using the childhood moniker that normally broke down my defenses. "Not today. I'm working." "Ethan, Mom told me what happened. Look, I had no idea she was going to do that." "Okay. Lila mentioned wanting to look at investment properties and Mom just, you know how she gets when she thinks she's helping." Before I looked at my patient, I finished updating his chart. Ethan was still attractive at 32, with the same dark hair and green eyes that we had all received from our father. He was dressed in his customary khakis and button-down shirt, and he looked like a successful businessman. "How long have you known?" I inquired. "Known what?" "About the house, Ethan. How long have you known I bought a house?" He had the elegance to appear embarrassed. "Mom figured it out about a month ago. She was worried about you. Said you'd been acting strange, secretive. She asked me to talk to you, but I told her to mind her own business. Clearly she listened to that advice. Clara, come on, she's just trying to look out for you." "That neighborhood is perfectly safe," I concluded. "And even if it wasn't, it's my choice to make. I'm 28 years old, Ethan. I don't need Mom's permission to buy a house." "Of course not. But maybe you could have mentioned it. We're family." The word family lingered between us like a challenge, because he actually meant that families do not hide secrets from one another. Families discuss big decisions. Families ask for advice, opinion, and approval. However, in my experience, various people's definitions of family vary. For Ethan, family meant unwavering support and celebration of each milestone. For Megan, it meant financial support and encouragement for all artistic endeavors. For me, it meant skepticism, lectures about practicalities, and the presumption that I was incapable of making adult decisions on my own. "I'll call Mom tonight," I eventually stated. "But Ethan, if you or Lila or anyone else shows up at my house uninvited again, I'm calling the police. That's not a threat. It's a promise." Ethan's face turned red. "Jesus, Bryn, she's our mother, not some criminal. She broke into my house. She has a key that I didn't give her." The waiting room began to stare, so I lowered my voice. "I have to get back to work. We'll talk later." But as Ethan went, I noticed a familiar expression on his face, the same one he'd had when we were kids, and I'd done something he didn't understand. It was a mix of annoyance and pity, as if I was being intentionally difficult rather than sticking up for myself. That night I contacted a locksmith. "Clara Marie Hartford, you open this door right now." Mom's voice rang clear through my new deadbolt lock as she hammered on my front door Thursday evening. I sat cuddled up on my couch, pumpkin purring on my lap, gazing through the window as she angrily pressed the doorbell. "I know you're in there. Your car is in the driveway." I'd been expecting this since the locksmith departed that morning. Caleb at Secure Solutions had done a fantastic job. New deadbolts, doorknob locks, and even a new lock for the rear gate. When I delicately described the matter as a family border issue, he nodded knowingly. "Family disputes are the worst," he added, testing the new key's smooth turn. "Good for you for taking control of your space." Now, as I watched Mom's increasingly desperate attempts to come inside, I felt an odd mix of delight and remorse. The satisfaction came from winning. My telephone rang. Mom, of course. Clara, this is ridiculous. Open the door so we can talk like adults. We can talk through the door, Mom. Or you can call first next time, like a normal person. Normal people don't change their locks to keep their mothers out. Normal mothers don't break into their children's houses. There was a lull, and I could virtually hear her readjusting her approach. Honey, I understand you're upset. I should have asked permission before showing the house, but I was genuinely worried about you. This neighborhood, this mortgage payment, it's too much for someone in your position. My position? You know what I mean. You're doing well for yourself, sweetheart. But this house is ambitious. Ethan and Lila could help you with the financial burden if you rented it to them. Or if the market is good, you could sell and make a nice profit. Get something more appropriate. Appropriate. There was the word again. The one who had followed me throughout my life. Clara's profession choice was acceptable for someone who wasn't college ready. Her place was suitable for a single woman. Her automobile was within her budget. But this house, this gorgeous ideal house that I paid for with my own money, credit, and hard work, appears to be inappropriate for someone like me. Mom, I'm not selling my house. But if you just listen to Caroline's advice. I don't care about Caroline's advice. I don't care about Ethan and Lila's investment plans. This is my house, and I'm keeping it. Clara Marie, you're being stubborn and short-sighted. This is exactly the kind of impulsive decision-making that worries your father and me. You can't just shut out your family when we're trying to help you. I approached the window and gazed out at her. Even in the porch light, I could see the typical look of irritated concern on her face whenever I did something she couldn't control. I'm not shutting out my family, Mom. I'm setting boundaries. If you want to visit my house, you call first and ask permission. If I say no, you respect that. And you definitely don't give tours to people without my consent. I was trying to help you see your options. I didn't ask for your help. The line went silent for a long time. When Mom spoke again, her voice was choked with pain and rage. Fine, have it your way, but don't come crying to us when this house becomes too much to handle, and don't expect us to bail you out when you realize you've made a mistake. She hung up. Through the window, I saw her walk back to her car, Dad's old Ford truck, and drive away with more force than necessary. I should have felt victorious. I should have felt empowered, strong, and proud of myself for holding my ground. Instead, I felt terribly, painfully alone. The following 2 weeks were some of the most lonely of my life. Mom made no calls, and Ethan sent no SMS. Even Megan, who typically avoided family turmoil, wrote a quick message. Heard about the house situation. Maybe just apologize and move on. What do you apologize for? For buying a home? For desiring privacy? For refusing to allow my family to make life decisions without consulting me? I devoted myself to make my place feel more like home. I painted the guest bedroom a subtle lavender, added floating shelves to the living room, and finally hung the gallery wall of images I had planned for months. Pumpkin oversaw all projects from his preferred sunny place by the kitchen window. But even the thrill of designing my ideal space couldn't totally cover the void in my chest. I had gained what I wanted. Independence, boundaries, and respect for my decisions. However, the expense began to feel greater than I had imagined. Nora arrived with takeout from Luigi's and a bottle of wine. Okay, spill, she said, sitting cross-legged on the living room floor with her chicken parmesan. I heard through the grapevine that you bought a house and are currently feuding with the entire Hartford clan. As your best friend, I'm deeply offended that I had to learn this from my hairdresser, whose cousin works at the title company. Nora had been my closest friend since 7th school, when we bonded over horrible cafeteria pizza. She was the only person who had never made me feel as if I needed to apologize for simply existing, which is presumably why I avoided her. I knew she'd ask harsh questions that I wasn't prepared to answer. I wasn't trying to hurt anyone, I responded, surprised by my defensive tone. I just wanted something that was mine. You know, something that no one could have opinions about or try to fix or improve. And instead of just enjoying your gorgeous house, which is absolutely stunning by the way, you're sitting here eating sad sandwiches and brooding like a character in a Victorian novel. She was not mistaken. I'd been eating a lot of sad sandwiches. They don't respect me. They never have. Mom got a key to my house from someone else's daughter and gave tours like it was her property to show off. Ethan thought it was perfectly reasonable for them to discuss my financial decisions behind my back. Even Dad just wants me to compromise and see their side. So, what's your endgame here? Never speak to them again? I glanced at the wine in my glass, seeing how the light from my new lampshade created patterns on the surface. I don't know. 3 days later, everything had changed again. I was leaving work when I noticed Ethan's Chevy Silverado in the parking lot, but instead of Ethan, Lila was driving. As I approached my Honda Civic, my sister-in-law rolled down the window with an inscrutable face. "Can we talk?" she inquired. Lila and I had always maintained a polite but distant relationship. She was everything I wasn't, blonde and perky, with a marketing degree and the ability to make Ethan feel like the center of the universe. We'd never had a serious conversation other than platitudes at family gatherings. "If this is about the house situation." "It is, but probably not in the way you think." She pointed to the passenger seat. "Please, 5 minutes." Against my better judgment, I climbed inside the truck. Lila quickly turned to face me, her normally bright smile replaced by a somber expression. "I owe you an apology," she explained. "A big one." That was not what I had expected. "Ethan doesn't know I'm here, and he'd probably be furious if he found out. But I can't let this go on without telling you the truth." "What truth?" Lila took a big breath. "Your mom didn't just randomly decide to show me your house." "I asked her to." My stomach sank. "What?" "Not the way it sounds," she quickly explained. "God, this is coming out all wrong. Look, Ethan and I have been having problems. Financial problems. His dad's company is struggling more than anyone wants to admit, and we're behind on our mortgage. Ethan is too proud to tell your parents how bad things really are." I stared at her, attempting to digest the information. Ethan, the golden boy, was facing financial issues. "When your mom mentioned that you'd bought a house, and I swear, Clara, I had no idea you were keeping it secret, I got this desperate idea. I thought maybe you'd be willing to rent out a room or even let us house sit sometimes. I wasn't trying to take your house or anything like that. I was just drowning and grasping at straws." The parts were beginning to come into place, but they were creating an image I didn't like. "So, you asked Mom to show you around?" "I asked if she thought you might be open to having roommates. She said she'd look into it." I had no idea she was going to break in with some realtor. When Ethan told me what happened, I felt sick. This whole mess is my fault. We sat quietly for a bit, the weight of family secrets and unsaid conflicts falling between us. "Why didn't Ethan just ask me for help?" I finally inquired. Lila laughed, but the sound was more like a sob. "Pride, I guess. He's supposed to be the successful one, remember? The one who has it all figured out. Asking his little sister for help would mean admitting that he doesn't." "Little sister," even Lila saw me this way. "I'm not little anymore," I said gently. "No," Lila agreed, glancing around at my automobile, my job badge, and the evidence of my independent life. "You're really not. And for what it's worth, your house is beautiful. You should be proud of what you've accomplished." That was the first time someone in my family had stated that. That weekend, I made a decision that startled even myself. I asked everyone over for dinner. Mom, Dad, Ethan, Lila, and Megan drove down from Chicago. I sent a group text Saturday morning saying, "Family dinner at my place Sunday at 6. Dress casual. I'm cooking." The responses were a swarm of bewildered emoticons and cautious acceptances. Mom called twice, but I let it go to voicemail. I had some things to plan. Sunday evening, I observed from my kitchen window as they drove into my driveway. Mom emerged from Dad's truck, visibly apprehensive. Ethan and Lila climbed out of the Silverado, with Lila carrying what appeared to be a bottle of wine. Megan arrived last in her beat-up Subaru, her curly hair dangling from a tangled bun. I opened the door before they could make a knock. "Welcome to my home," I murmured, standing aside to allow them in. I gave them a tour that was nothing like Mom's unapproved one. I proudly showed them each room, describing my decor choices, highlighting the original architectural aspects, and introducing them to Pumpkin. I studied their faces as they glanced around the room I'd created, possibly for the first time. Dad said, "Clara, this is..." and then appeared to lose his words. He ran his palm over the restored mantelpiece in the living room, his contractor's eye noticing the quality. "It's gorgeous," Megan concluded. "I can't believe you did all this yourself." I told them the whole tale during dinner, which included handmade lasagna, garlic bread, and a salad cooked with veggies produced in my backyard garden. How I'd saved for 5 years. How I studied neighborhoods, mortgage rates, and home inspections. I fell in love with this house as soon as I viewed the listing. "But why didn't you tell us?" Mom inquired, her voice soft. "We could have helped." "Because I wanted to do it myself," I explained simply. Because every time I've made a decision in my life, someone in this family has had an opinion about how I could do it better. I wanted one thing, just one thing that was completely mine. Ethan squirmed uncomfortably in his seat. We don't do that, don't you? I looked around the table. Ethan, when I started my photography business, what did you say? He was calm. You said it was nice that I had a little hobby to keep me busy. Dad, when I got promoted to lead hygienist, you said it was good experience for when I decided to do something more serious with my life. Mom, when I bought my car, you spent an hour explaining why a sedan would have been more practical than my Jeep. The silence stretched awkwardly. I love you all, I added. But I needed to prove to myself that I could make good decisions without a committee. And I did. I bought a house, and it's perfect, and I'm proud of myself. Lila spoke up immediately. I owe you an apology too, about the whole rental thing. I should have talked to you directly instead of going through your mom. Ethan gazed at his wife with amazement, having heard this part of the narrative for the first time. Money problems? I inquired gently. Ethan's jaw tensed, but Lila simply nodded. The construction business has been slow. We're managing, but it's been stressful. I looked at my brother. Really stared at him. For the first time I could see the stress lines around his eyes and how his shoulders were tense. The golden boy wasn't as golden as everyone assumed. If you need help, I began. We don't need, Ethan said reflexively, and then stopped himself. Sorry, old habits. If you need help, I said loudly, you can ask me. But you ask me directly, and you respect whatever answer I give. Deal? He nodded, slightly stunned. And Mom? I turned to face her. I need you to understand something. I'm not angry because you were trying to help. I'm angry because you didn't trust me to know what I needed. Getting a key to my house without asking, bringing strangers inside, making plans for my property. That's not help. That's control. Mom's eyes flooded with tears. I just worry about you. You're so independent, so determined to do everything alone. I wanted to make sure you had options. I appreciate that you worry. But I need you to trust that I can handle my own life. Even if I make mistakes, they're mine to make. We talked till nearly midnight, clearing the air after decades of miscommunication and implicit expectations. It wasn't the perfect chat. There were tears, heated words, and moments when I feared someone might storm out. But that was the most honest our family had been in years. When they eventually departed, Mom held me tightly at the door. I'm proud of you, she whispered. I should have said that first. As I watched their taillights vanish down Maple Ridge Drive, I felt a shift in my chest. The hollow feeling that had been with me for weeks was now giving way to something warmer. I was still standing in my doorway when my phone vibrated with a text message from Ethan. Thanks for dinner. The house is amazing. You did good, sis. For the first time in months, I went to bed that night feeling like I genuinely belonged somewhere. Not only at home, but also among my family members. The difference was that now I could belong on my own terms, and sometimes it makes all the difference in the world.